They called it a routine misconduct hearing. To me, it was the day they tried to bury my son. I was a janitor for 32 years. I raised that boy alone after his mother died. He drove city buses, worked double shifts, brought me groceries every Sunday. Then one morning, two officers came to my door and handed me papers saying he had assaulted a police officer during a traffic stop. Assaulted a cop, my son, who apologized to furniture when he bumped into it. The lie spread faster than truth ever could. At church, they stopped asking about him. Neighbors looked away. And when I stepped into that courtroom, I felt it, that cold machinery already moving without me. The officer sat there polished and proud, uniform pressed sharp as a knife. He kept smirking at my son like the verdict was already signed. Then he looked at the bench and laughed under his breath when he saw the judge. Because she was a black woman, he thought she was weak before she spoke a word. He called her sweetheart when she asked for order. Said he'd been dealing with judges longer than she'd worn robes. People shifted in their seats. Even the prosecutor smiled like it was a private joke. And then that officer looked at me, an old man gripping a folded photograph of my son, and said loud enough for the room to hear, "That family should be grateful we didn't charge both of them." The room laughed. I felt my face burn. My son stood to speak, but they shut him down. "Sit down," the prosecutor barked. "You people always have a story. You people." And the judge, she went still. But she let it continue. That frightened me more than anger. Because silence in court can mean surrender. The officer testified my son lunged at him, claimed bruises, claimed resistance, claimed fear for his life. Every word came polished, practiced, the kind of lie told often enough to sound holy. Then they called me. I walked slowly. My knees shook. The officer rolled his eyes before I even raised my hand. He whispered, "Old fool." I almost sat down. Almost. Then I remembered something in my jacket pocket. A receipt. From the morning of the arrest. I'd forgotten it was there. My son had bought me blood pressure medicine at a pharmacy across town at the exact minute the officer swore he was being attacked. The prosecutor laughed when I handed it over. "A receipt," he said. "That's your miracle?" Even the officer grinned. Then the judge asked for the officer's body cam. He said it had malfunctioned. That smirk came back. And that was when the silence changed. Because the judge leaned forward and asked one question so quiet it made the room strain to hear. "If the camera failed, why did you submit a transcript from the recording?" No one moved. The prosecutor froze. The officer blinked. He hadn't caught it. He had filed words from footage he claimed never existed. The judge ordered the file opened. And there it was, hidden in the attachments no one thought I could read. Audio. Not video. Just audio. Enough. They played it. And through static, we heard my son say, calm as rain, "Sir, my father needs his medicine." Then the officer's voice. Not frightened. Not attacked. Laughing. And saying, "Nobody believes people like you." The courtroom turned to stone. Then came the sound nobody expected. The judge removing her own glasses because her hands were shaking. She stared at that officer who had called her sweetheart and said she had recognized his name the moment he entered. Years before, he had testified in a civil rights case she argued before becoming a judge. He had lied then too. She had stayed silent because she wanted him to keep talking, to hang himself with his own pride. That smirk vanished. Deputies moved. The officer panicked, started shouting, started begging. But the room had already chosen truth. Charges dismissed. Federal referral ordered. Badge surrendered in open court. And as they led him away, the man who mocked a black judge turned to her, trembling, and whispered, "Your Honor, please." And she answered with the words that made the whole room go silent. "You thought the robe made me powerless, but it was your lie that put you in chains."